Hello, 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 hello. Here we are. What is my topic today? I know I got a good one. How to say no to sex without hurting him. We will be using adult language today, so if you are offended by adult language, do not watch this video. Do not watch this video in front of your children. I promise I will be using the F word at least once, if not a lot of times. All right, so let's get into this. This is such a great topic. Are you tired of rejecting him? Do you know that every time that you reject him that it's killing his ego, and you know you don't want to do that? But it's your damn body. You know, what does he expect anyway? You're going to just give it to him all the time? I know that can be really exhausting, especially if his love language is physical touch. And it's your body and you don't want to give it up and you want to be able to say no, but you don't want him to feel rejected. There's a lot going on in this conversation. So I'm excited to get into it with you. And this is me time. So I just want to acknowledge you for spending some time with yourself today. Thank you for being here. You can thank yourself for being here. You can say, I know that I'm a wonderful woman because I care enough about my man that I want to say no to him in a loving way, and I care enough about myself that I want to say no and honor myself. So acknowledge yourself for being here today. You're going to learn how to do all of that and feel good about it. And for the next actually, I'm probably going to stop doing me time for a little while because the holidays are coming. It's going to get a little wild. So this week's the last week we're going to be doing me time. So if you need to catch up on the old videos, do that. And if you want to join me for the last few, now's the time. So can you imagine saying no to him without hurting him? Are you able to even imagine in your mind what that looks like? So, you know, today we're obviously going to be talking about love. We're always bringing everything back to self-love. This is the basis of all my teachings is self-love, and I help women to let go of their need to control so they can move into their own light, they can move into their own power, they can move into their own love. Love is a frequency, love is an energy, and as you vibrate higher and higher in your own love, which you do by becoming in alignment with yourself, your vibrational energy gets bigger, your light gets bigger, and your effect on the world is greater, bigger, and stronger, which creates peace in our families and in the world around us. And that's what I'm all about, is helping you create peace. So that's what we're up to today. The topic is how to say no sex to your man without hurting his feelings. So just so everybody knows, I will refer to like the traditional man and woman in the relationship, but I want you also to know that I work with same-sex relationships. I know that many people choose same-sex relationships, and I don't want to offend anybody, but just for the sake of the conversation today, I'll be referring to you as the female and him as the male, the other partner, just so we don't get lost in who's who. And so insert whatever pronoun is appropriate for you in this case. So if you've been following me, you know that rejection is one of the most painful human experiences. Give me just 1 second because I want to see something. Okay, well, that's not working. I wonder if, I don't have anybody with me yet, which is odd because usually we've got people by now. So I'm just wondering if it's not working. So let me just check something really quick. And I can talk at the same time. So we have learned that rejection is one of the most painful human experiences, if you've been following me. You know, if you think about, oh, again, she's saying that there's no notice again. So let's see if I can try something else. I'm going to let you guys know. I'm sorry, forgive me for just a moment. I'm just going to send a little message in the group. Okay. So just a little message in the group that says, I'm live now, come find me. Because evidently it's not giving a notification to you guys that this video is happening, which is so funny when that happens because I don't want to do this video without you. The whole reason I want to do these videos is because I want to be with you. So let's see if we can get anybody to join. So let me keep going about this. So think about it in a tribal culture. If you were rejected, it actually meant that you die. I mean, to put it simply, because if you're living in a tribe and it's cold and it's the winter and you do something to piss off the tribe, you will get kicked out, and they, you know, the survival of the tribe is the mentality. And for 10 million years we lived like that. And so if you are a threat to the tribe, you will get kicked out. If you get kicked out during the dead of winter, you will die. You cannot survive on your own in the wilderness in the middle of the winter. You won't be able to find enough food. You won't be able to make enough shelter and fire. And we need each other. We depend on each other. We survive with each other. So it's really important to not get rejected. I'm wondering if maybe I should start this video over. I think maybe I'm going to. Oh, no, I'm not, because I have an appointment right after this. So we're going to keep going, and we're going to hope that people can find me and jump in. So if your brain tells you that you will die if you're rejected, you can see why this is such a big issue. You know, we don't want to feel rejected. We don't want to reject those that we love. Like, it's definitely a big issue. Because it literally feels like death, and we don't want to do that to our partner. So, and it's my body, and so what are we going to do? So just wondering if you have been rejected or if you have been the one who rejects. Usually it's one or the other. You know, I love talking about sex because it's really much more of it's almost like the symptom, not the underlying diagnosis. So when we're talking about sex and you're looking at sex in your relationship, you can tell if your relationship is going well or not depending on how good your sex life is looking. Does that make sense? So, man, I'm really concerned that nobody's able to get into this video or find it. It just seems so strange. I don't really understand how Facebook works, you know, and okay, so super sorry. I'm so distracted today, and I appreciate you guys for sticking with me. Okay, I'm going to stay on task from here on out. All right, so this is what we're going to share. We're going to share about how to say no without hurting him. And go ahead and invite your friends into the group into the group so that they can watch this video also. You can catch it on my YouTube channel, which is Beautifully Authentic. You can subscribe to it, and you can get all these videos afterwards. But if you want to join us, you get to join the Facebook Beautifully Authentic Facebook group so that you can be part of these live conversations if you're getting the notifications, which evidently today no one got. So. Oh, that's fun. All right, so let's get into this. Why on earth would we even want to say no in the first place? Right? Maybe you've had a long day. Maybe you're tired and you need space. Maybe you have a headache. P.S. If you have a headache, having sex will probably get rid of it. And this is why. Because when you have sex, you're releasing oxytocin and you're releasing, what's the other one? Pitocin, I believe. And when you do that, when you release all of those yummy, delicious hormones, what it does is it overrides all the cortisol dump that's been in your body all day long from stress hormones. So literally having sex can reverse your headache because it's dumping all the yummy chemicals and it's actually clearing out all the yucky chemicals, and your whole body's going to feel better. But that's not what we're talking about today. And we don't need to tell him that. You can still use I have a headache as an excuse if you want to. But just so you know, I mean, try it out sometime. You know, when you have a headache, try out making love and see if your headache goes away. Because like 9 out of 10 times it will. All right, so little side note. So maybe you're pissed as hell and you just don't want him near you, right? That's usually what happens. So what could have happened here? Well, this is fun. Let's look at this. So maybe he didn't do the chores and you're feeling unloved. Maybe he didn't listen to you when you told him about your day. Maybe he didn't give you a hug when he walked in the door. Maybe he hasn't done any little thoughtful things for you, like bringing you little gifts. Maybe he's been too busy working and you feel like you don't even know him anymore. And maybe just the stars are not aligned and you have cramps and screw it, you're not going to have sex with him. It doesn't really matter what the reason is. It's probably the disconnection that's happening. So usually we feel like saying no to sex because there's some kind of disconnection in the relationship happening. I was wondering so usually we say no because you're not feeling in it, and by in it I mean in the relationship. True or true, right? So did anybody notice that I was going through the 5 love languages there? And what's yours? What's your love language? Do you know what your love language is? She's still saying it's not coming up live. That's okay. I'm going to just keep going. Do you know what your love language is? You can tell which one of your love languages yours is by going through the questions that I just asked, right? So if you feel like he spends too much time at work and you don't get any of his time, your love language is probably quality time. So usually we say no because we feel disconnected in some way. Ask yourself what happened to have you be disconnected. Because sex is really an awesome and an amazing indicator of where your relationship is, like in the current moment. Because if you used to have a lot of really great sex all the time and now you're not, I like to talk about it as if it's a cancer tumor. It's a tumor that's, you start to see the tumor growing and you're like, oh, damn, there's a tumor there. But if you don't go get it checked and find out you have cancer, right, you get the tumor taken off and then your whole body doesn't get cancer. But if you don't get the tumor taken off, it grows, your whole body gets cancer. Like lack of sex is the tumor. So if there's a lack of sex happening in your relationship, that's the tumor. So you want to get rid of that shit before it takes over your body and your relationship, right? So if you see the tumor, if you see that there's no sex happening and you used to have great sex, this is a really good indicator that something is seriously off. And if you never had great sex in your relationship, you might ask yourself, what am I doing in a relationship that has no chemistry? That's because I say if it's not a fuck yes, why are you there? Because I personally have learned to live my life as a fuck yes. Like everything is a fuck yes. And if it's a fuck no, there's no fucking way I'm doing it, right? And I purposefully use that language because it's powerful and it is a good indicator for me whether or not I'm happy to be doing it or not. So it applies in way more areas than just simply relationships. So how to say no without hurting him? Do you have first of all, most important thing, boundaries. Do you have the guts to say no? You get to ask yourself, do you have the guts to say no and ask for what you want? Do you know what you want? A lot of women I work with don't know what they want. Do you know what you don't want? It's another part of knowing what you want. You know what you want, you know what you don't want. If you know what you don't want, a lot of times we know what we don't want. It helps you figure out what you do want. That's in my webinar. If you go to Beautifully Authentic webpage, there's like a great big webinar right at the top. Go check out the webinar and learn about how to create what you want, manifest what you want. Do you know who you are? Do you know that you're deserving of love? Are you able to enforce your boundaries? Now, this doesn't mean like just do you have boundaries, because maybe you can say no, but you're not being effective. You're not being heard when you say no. If that's happening, it's a self-esteem issue. It's a self-love issue. It's a confrontation issue. It's a fear issue. There's a lot going on there. Like I remember being so afraid to speak my mind to my first husband. I wanted him to love me so badly. Like I needed him to love me because deep down, even though I really didn't even know it at the time, I felt so unlovable. It was like I had to prove to myself that I was lovable, and I would avoid confrontation because to me, confrontation meant I was stirring something up and I wasn't being lovable. So I would avoid saying what I needed, and I would just try to do and be everything that I thought he wanted me to be. And in the end, I ended up losing myself. So if I did have boundaries, they were fuck you boundaries, you know, which aren't very effective either. And that was out of resentment and out of losing myself, and trying to make him love me. And really, if you think about this, it makes no sense. This makes no sense. Why do we do this? Why do I give up myself to be loved? Like, it doesn't make any sense because, you know, he loves you. He fell in love with you. He didn't fall in love with the you you're pretending to be. And if he did fall in love with the you that you were pretending to be, like if you're pretending to be someone and somebody's falling in love with that, that's like a bigger, more serious issue, right? Because you're worthy of love. You don't have to pretend to be anything other than who you really are. And, you know, it's funny now because now I know my ex-husband will always be there. Like, we have kids together, and, you know, the relationship that we have is this parenting relationship. And now I can say whatever I want. And it's funny because, and he can too. And it's funny because I actually appreciate him, and he appreciates me for, and I love him, and he loves me for saying what I really need to say and who I really am and being who I really am. It's funny. And, you know, it's also sad because there was years and years and years of resentment that got in the way of all of that. So if that's happening for you, please let me work with you now before you have years and years of resentment, so that we can clear all of that out. And, you know, I can teach you how to do that before you get divorced. So I can teach you how to have this awesome, open, loving relationship before all those years of resentment. And if you don't know how to do confrontation and you don't feel worthy of confrontation, that's an issue inside of you. So we get to look at what's going on inside of you, and it's pretty easy to shift, switch, boop, 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 little tiny shifts, little tiny switches, and the relationship opens up. It's really beautiful. It reminds me of massage when I do that. There's these little tiny shifts that happen, and the whole body opens. Like yesterday, I was working on somebody here, and he was like, God, I loved what you were doing on my feet. Which I think is so funny because I wasn't working on his feet. I was working on his neck. But it's the same idea. We have these little tiny shifts inside of us about our own self-love and our own self-worth and our own ability to speak our mind and our own, like, truth, our own self-truth. Like, I'm allowed to feel like this. I'm allowed to love this, and I'm allowed to love that. And yes, I may do this horrible behavior sometime, but that's me, and I love me. And, like, moving into those are the little shifts that, like, open the whole relationship up. So I love those just little tiny tweaks that open everything up. So let's see. So number one is boundaries. How are your boundaries doing? And your boundaries are totally based on your own sense of self-love and self-worth. So are you even able to say, baby, I don't want this? You know, that's number one. Number two, how not to reject him. Create an environment of love. Does that make sense? So he wants to have sex and you don't want to have sex. How do you say no without rejecting him? Create an environment of love. Make sense? Simple enough. Because you can't reject somebody while you love him or her, right? You can't reject somebody when that's happening. So if you're unable to create a loving environment, you have bigger problems, right, than not wanting to have sex. That's why I love sex, talking about sex, because it's an indicator of what's actually going on underneath. Your crappy sex life has way more to do with how you feel about yourself and how your husband or your partner feels about himself than it has anything to do with what's actually happening in the bedroom. Same thing with money. Money, sex, in-laws, all of those wonderful topics are just indicators for how we're actually doing inside of ourselves. So, number one, boundaries. Number two, create an environment of love. Number three, do a little something in his love language if you don't want him to feel rejected. Does this make sense? So, if you don't want to give up your body, it doesn't mean you have to withhold love. maybe that's a new concept for some of us. I remember learning that I can be wanted and not have someone want me sexually, right? So this is one of those new concepts. I can be loving, I can give love, and I don't have to give it in the form of my body. So you can still do a little something for him, and while you're doing it, you can let him know that you aren't feeling well or whatever it is that's going on for you, and that you aren't able to be there with him sexually, but you still love him. So, let's do the love languages. It's pretty simple, right? If his love language is physical touch, you can do a little foot massage. You can cuddle him on the couch. If his love language is quality time, same thing, a little time on the couch, making dinner together, folding laundry together. I don't know, like whatever you want to do together, go for a walk together. Words of affirmation is spending time listening to him, giving him your input, telling him how great you think he is. This is definitely important for him to not feel rejected. If that's his love language, it's really, really important for you to tell him how much you love him and how much you want him. Even though maybe you don't physically want him. Acts of service could be doing a little chore maybe that you've been putting off. That would make him feel really loved. If his love language is gifts, you could do anything from a little love note or making dinner or offering a nice bottle of wine that you've been saving, or maybe a nice piece of chocolate, or even like a little keepsake, like a flower, a little heart-shaped rock, little heart-shaped shell. I mean, it could be anything. So if you're struggling to create love, then tell him how you're feeling. Oh, so this is number 4. So 1 is boundaries, 2, create an environment of love, 3, do something loving, 4, if you're struggling to create 1, 2, and 3, especially 2 and 3, if you're having trouble creating environment of love or doing something loving, it's time to do number 4, which is tell him how you're feeling. Okay, so there's nothing more connecting than, and it gets to be with what we call a softened startup. Okay, that's John Gottman's research. It's wonderful. A lot of us go in on the attack. If you go in on the attack, your man is going to get defensive and you are not going to create connection. You're going to create more disconnection, which of course leads to further separation and not love. You'll be further supporting that you're not lovable, and it will feel like crap. He will feel further rejected. You guys will feel further apart. Don't do that. You want to start with a super, super softened startup, which means coming to him in a lot of love and understanding. Coming at a time that's right. Like, don't come in the middle of the Canes game if he's a big Canes game and they're like undefeated or whatever they are this season. It's you want to make sure that you're coming to him at an appropriate time to talk about things like this, and softly. So, and don't forget, what are the 3 things that men are always trying to do for us? If you remember them, put them in the comments. But it's, he wants to provide for us, he wants to protect us, and he wants to make us happy. So this comes back to what I was talking about earlier. Because if you feel worthy enough to put yourself out there and say, babe, this is what's going on for me and this is what I need, he's going to put it in his mammoth hunting logical man brain, computer is what I call it, going to plug in all the equations, right? And he's going to shoot out an answer for you. He's going to tell you what you need to do, and he's going to fix it for you, right? And so, like, why not? Why not let him fix it for you? If you have a problem, fix the problem. And listen to him. Listen to what he says, because he really wants to protect you, provide for you, make you happy. He really, really does. If he's a good man, he's doing that. And if he's not doing that, it doesn't mean he's not a good man. There's a very good possibility that you've pissed him off to the point where he just doesn't care anymore. And when you get to that point, the only reason they're sticking around is because they're loyal. And that's why we love them, because they're loyal. But if you don't trust him and he doesn't trust you, you don't really have much of a relationship, do you? So you get to trust that he wants to take care of you. You get to trust that he actually fell in love with you because you're freaking awesome. And you get to, you're deserving of love, so you get to ask for what you need. And you get to let him figure out how to give it to you. And then you get to let him give it to you the way he wants to give it to you. You're not the boss of him. So Yes, that's all of that stuff. So let's recap the pointers. Why are we saying no in the first place, right? It's a diagnosis of what's happening in your relationship. Why are you saying no in the first place? I mean, you truly could have a stomach ache or a migraine headache or just a super rough day at work, or you're exhausted and you need a nap. Like you really could need to say no just because you need to say no, and that's fine. But if you're saying no because you're like being a no, because you're like being a fuck you and you're being withheld, that's a pretty good indicator that something is going on and that you get to work on it inside of you. Not even inside the relationship, inside of you. Like you and me, we get to work on that. If you really need to say no, don't reject him. Create an environment of love, right? So number one, why are you saying no in the first place? And say no if you need to say no. Those are boundaries. Number two, create an environment of love. Number three, do something in his love language so that he feels loved. And number four, if you simply cannot create a loving environment because you're just too freaking pissed off, then talk to him about it. Share with him about it. Be vulnerable. He wants to take care of you. So if you love this video, then share it with your friends. If you have your girlfriend who talks to you about her crappy sex life, share it with her. In this moment, she will realize that you shared the video with her because she's told you about her crappy sex life. And in this moment, she will be looking at me thinking, maybe this woman can help me with my crappy sex life. And if that's you, girl, it's true. I can help you. It can be beautiful. So share it with your friends. Let's start creating an environment of love all the time with our spouses. Our crappy sex lives are just a little tiny indicator that either something's off in the relationship or something's off internally. And I know you want to be aligned with your true self. I know that you do because I know that I do. Like, I don't think there's anybody out there going like, you know what? No, I really like being exhausted and frustrated and withholding sex from my man. Like, I mean, if that's you, you're like a gigantic fuck you. Like, good luck in your relationships, you know? I mean, no judgment, for real. Like, if that's how you want to do it and that's what's working for you, I mean, good for you, but I would challenge you and I would say that's a huge, super huge protection and that you actually want to feel really, really loved. And so I'm going to offer you the opportunity to move into your alignment and into a place of love. It is not scary once you get into it. I know that it can feel really scary to be open and loved. But that's just all those lies underneath. It's not true, right? So here's the deal. Like, if you're unable to create a loving environment with your lover, there's probably a serious issue or problem going on in the relationship. And if you aren't feeling the fuck yes that I want you to be feeling, and you're forcing something that isn't working, and maybe it's because you're afraid to leave, or maybe you think that there's something that you can't do to shift it, like, reach out to me. Because we can work on building up that guiding light inside of you. We can work on building up your alignment so that you start vibrating really high and you start sending out this really incredible love energy, and build up your light inside of you so that you know what the right decisions are for you in your life regarding your relationship. I'm not going to tell you if what you're doing is right or wrong. I don't care if what you're doing is right or wrong. What I care about is that you are you, and you're in alignment with yourself, and you're able to use your heart energy to create more peace and love on the planet. Because the quicker you do that, the quicker this planet's consciousness rises, and the quicker we have a really beautiful and wonderful place for all of us to live, and there's much, much less abuse. And I mean, that's what I'm all about. Like, no, I don't want to do the abuse. I don't think anybody needs to be abused. I want to see the planet in harmony. That's really what I'm striving for. So if you're struggling to make a loving environment, let's take a look at what's going on inside of you. Maybe it's this, like what I've been talking about, this I'm not lovable or I'm not desirable conversation that's holding you back from like amazing and ultimate lovemaking. Maybe it even could be the I'm so afraid I'm going to get lost and smothered by his love, right? Like, that happens. Like I'm afraid that he'll smother me if I let him in conversation, you know? Anyway, once we identify what the underlying belief is, we can start shifting everything. It's really exciting. So you deserve love, you know? You absolutely deserve love. And it is super exciting to have a relationship where like all you want to do is just give yourself to your person all the time and be an offering, and they feel the same way with you. It's the most wonderful, lovely feeling. So if you're ready for it, reach out to me. I would love to teach it to you. You know, I used to think I was so unlovable and so undesirable and annoying. Oh God, I thought I was just so annoying and nobody would ever want me because I was so annoying. And it was, a lot of it was unconscious, and it got in the way of all of my intimate relationships. I wanted so badly to be close and loved, and yet whenever anybody got close enough, I would just push them away. And I was like, oh, that's too close. Because if you actually get close, you realize I am not lovable, right? It's the saddest, loneliest feeling to know that you want to be loved, but as soon as they get close enough to you to love you, you push it away because you don't feel like you're worthy of love. It's so sad. And it just keeps reinforcing it. For me, it kept reinforcing how unlovable I was because they wouldn't get close. And I didn't realize I was the one doing the pushing. And what a big lie. What a big lie I was telling myself, that I was unlovable. And I kept getting myself disconnected from my authentic self. And that kept me disconnected from my own power and my own life force and my own ability to love and receive love. And I was exhausted. I was so lonely and so tired and so exhausted. And I just felt like I was running in circles all the time, and I didn't know why. I don't know if you can relate to me right now, but if that's you, I understand where you are, because I have been there. And it is exhausting, and it is lonely, and it totally sucks. And I mean, I'm at peace. I'm at peace inside of myself now. Like, it's a cool feeling to know that I deeply love and care about myself. And every day it's a journey into me even deeper. Like, as much as I love Mike and as awesome as our relationship is, it's only a reflection of the work I'm doing on myself every day. And I get to receive my own love now. You know, we receive love and we give love out. It's just a mirror of how I am able to do that inside of myself. And I've learned how to do it, and it's something I can teach. And so if you're ready, I want to teach you. You know, let's do this. You know, here, another little side note that just kind of came to me. Sometimes saying no to sex is a form of self-sabotage. So it's like sometimes saying no to him isn't you trying to hurt him, it's you trying to hurt you, and you reinforcing that you're not lovable. So, you know, if this is you, please reach out to me for a complimentary one-on-one session, because I really, really would love to support you with that. So, you know, let's get you on the path of self-love. Let's get you on the path of having mind-blowing sex. And let's get you the relationship of your dreams, because you freaking deserve it. Absolutely. 100%. I guarantee it. And I know that you're lovable, and I know that you're amazing, because you wouldn't be watching this video today if you didn't care deeply, because you're watching this video today because the topic is how to say no without hurting him. And if you care that much about not hurting him, then it means you care deeply. And it means you care deeply about yourself, and maybe you're just not in touch with how special and important you are. So I want to say thank you, and you get to thank yourself for being here. You get to thank yourself for being amazing. You get to thank yourself for being a deeply caring person, and you get to thank yourself for being extremely lovable and wonderful and worthy of love, because you are, and there's no doubt in my mind that you are, because each and every one of us are wonderful, and I can see your inner child, and I know that when you were born perfect, whole, and complete, and the only thing in the way is all the fucking lies and stories you tell yourself about how you're not lovable and you're not worthy, and it's a bunch of crap. So cut it out. Say thank you to yourself. I appreciate you, and I thank you for being here. And, you know, you get to honor yourself and know that you can love deeply because you are love, and you have so much love to offer. So until next time, I love you guys.